Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the JDW Sports Talk Show. We're back once again. We're back after so much has happened from the last few weeks, from this offseason to now the draft. The draft is over. Everybody's got time to relax. Everybody's got time to think about, who your team drafted. We're both happy as Texas fans and Colts fans of who we've got, but we're going to talk about it today. As you all know, I'm Aaron, aka Head of the Table. This is my boy DJ. He's the Colts fan. I'm the Texas fan, and this is the Rival Podcast Show.
Yep, this is going to be the NFL Rivals podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe and comment down what topics you'd like us to cover. Anyways, let's get this started with the biggest event so far, and that is the NFL draft that just happened. Aaron, I mean, when you talk about it, the Colts and the Texans both had some pretty good drafts. I mean, for the Colts side, I don't know about, maybe the Texans side. I want to hear some of your thoughts. What did you think of the Texans draft?
Oh, trust me, like everybody saw from when me and JDW, when we did the live stream of the draft, I was pretty upset that we didn't grab nobody. I was upset of us losing Emeka Buka, Tyler Booker, Matthew Golden. I was honestly sad when them three guys just got picked already, especially the Packers drafting Matthew Golden ahead of us. I was honestly just like so bummed out. And when the Texans jumped back and jumped out of the first round into the second round, I was even like, damn, what's the purpose of what we're doing? But I wasn't really mad. I was like, you know what, second round still brings in a lot of talent, and that's what we did. And I was really happy with this overall draft. But from a Texas fan reacting to a Colts fan reaction for the draft, like JDW's, like I was happy to see y'all in your first round draft Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I think that was a really amazing pick. And kind of referencing to the Texans, I didn't really suspect them to trade up like the way they did or trade down, right? So they got out of the first round, and it just wasn't a really good it was a pretty solid decision, right? You could see why they did it.
Yeah.
They were still able to get the players they wanted, right? They got Jaden Higgins from Ohio State.
Yeah.
They got the tackle from Minnesota and Ursary.
Yeah,
and they got some really good – They got some amazing picks there, and I honestly think each pick individually was really good. But now we can dive into like our first picks. So obviously the first pick for the Indianapolis Colts was Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. He's obviously our pick 14. And I'm being honest, my honest reaction to it was good.
Yeah.
And what happened with the Bears? And I'm not even lying. I'm not trying to throw any shade at the Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bears did make a good decision with Colston Loveland. He has a great character. He's really athletic. I think with like someone like Tyler Warren, what you get is their physical capabilities, especially against a Houston Texans, DeMeco Ryans defense that is really physical.
Yeah.
You need physical like capabilities on your offense. And I think Tyler Warren is going to be one of those guys that comes in and helps us out against a Houston Texans defense that is very physical. Because, Tyler Warren is just that physical guy. He's like another Gronk, right? Like he's going to be hard to take down. So I'm excited for him to come into the building, right? He has a lot of physicality. 6'5", 256 pounds, right? He has some amazing stats with 1,233 yards and 8 touchdowns. So he's amazing. He's all around really good. He has rushing yards, so he can be like a fullback, which imagine that as a linebacker or a D lineman. If you see Tyler Warren running the ball against you, 6'5", that is insane. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see how we use Warren. As you know, Shane Steichen has the RPO system.
Yeah.
What I'm really interested in seeing is how they use Anthony Richardson and Tyler Warren in that offense. I have a feeling and Jonathan Taylor, right? I have a feeling we're going to see like some triple threat running game action. I just have a feeling Shane Steichen's going to get really creative with how the running game is going to play out and even the passing game. But some of your thoughts as well, Aaron, on that pick as well.
Honestly, what I was going to put in was like whenever the draft happened, because I wasn't too focused on tight ends because we've got 3 tight ends ourselves, so we don't need to draft tight end. But everything I was hearing from Tyler Warren, I saw his plays, saw his highlights. I was like, okay. And the one thing I told JW was, which is why I know JW made the video, is he reminds me of like another Dallas Clark type tight end for y'all, which was like a fast tight end, a good sized tight end, one that y'all can work with. But working with Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor in the back, like that'll be honestly a good triple threat. But say Anthony Richardson doesn't pan out as you want, you still got Daniel Jones behind him. And I think with a good tight end like that, Daniel Jones can have a good support system with the weapons at wide receiver and with a good weapon at tight end. So either quarterback, no matter which quarterback starts the game, I feel they'll both like really be have beneficial attributes and support with a tight end like Tyler Warren.
No, most definitely. I think it's going to add a lot of benefits. And Tyler Warren's just really talented tight end, really physical. But now heading into your guys' first pick, which is Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Want to tell us a bit more about that wide receiver?
Honestly, Jaden Higgins coming out of Iowa State. He was listed as a top 20 player. He was listed as like honestly the top 5 wide receivers. Everybody had their picks of who was the best wide receiver, from Emeka Egbuka to Matthew Golden. It all fell like all around, but it's the draft. You're going to have everybody jumble around who's the best. But when it came to Tyler Higgins, honestly, I know a lot of people like fell in love with him, but me, I was kind of like out of the loop because this season I wasn't like too big into college, so I was out of the loop. So once I started reading more up on Jaden Higgins, I was liking it. He was compared to Nico Collins. He's 6'4", so that's 2 giant, tall wide receivers we have, like ready to be on each outside of the plays and all that, just ready to be a Weapon X for each other. That 1-2 punch. So I'm glad we have 2 big receivers. He's the same as Nico, man on man. He's good on his zone routes. Any routes he can go on, he'll separate. So for us having a wide receiver like Nico in a way, it's just so beneficial. CJ has another weapon, and honestly, if I can just add it in, it's crazy that we have him, and then later in the draft, we drafted his straight teammate from Iowa State, Jalen Noel, who's honestly another contributing factor. He's got the speed like Tank Dell, who unfortunately lost, but he's got more of that muscle that we wanted Tank Dell to have. He's got more of that height, the muscle, the weight. And honestly, them two, that's a 1-2 punch coming from Iowa State to the Texans, and I can't wait to see them this offseason, this training camp season, and even in the preseason.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And something to like keep in mind of is, someone like those 2 wide receivers are just really, really good. They're really talented. And, even with Jaden Higgins, like you were saying, right? The Texans' offense is just more reliant on those big play receivers. Not to say that they don't use Joe Mixon in that really good running game, which is already pretty solid on its own.
Yeah.
I just feel like the Texans, their offense, the way it was ran. Now, of course, I know you guys have a new offensive coordinator, so who knows how your new offense is going to look.
Yeah.
But I think that the offense, the way it is, should be reliant on CJ Stroud in the deep play action passing game because you guys have tall, athletic wide receivers that are fast. So in that case, the running game, sort of dependent, but it's going to be very like pass heavy versus like the Colts, which are like very like RPO, run heavy, right? What's that one word I'm looking for? Manipulation, right? Manipulating the defense into thinking one thing, and then all of a sudden we go the other. Kind of like the Lions. You're really just tricking the defense into like what you're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and then for us as well, like a lot of people were upset because through the draft we only drafted one lineman, which is Ariante Ursary from Minnesota. Everybody was upset, and to me, he's honestly flexible. Like our tackle Titus Howard, he can go from guard to tackle, and that's what Ariante Ursary can do, and that's a good thing. But a lot of people were upset because we only drafted one lineman in the draft, and what I didn't come to realize until I started looking up, we've got 15 offensive linemen in that room. So 15 guys in that one room, they're going to fight for their spots. They're going to show they're going to be paid. At the end of training camp, at the end of preseason, of course, we're going to make those cuts. We're going to like go from 15 to possibly like 8, honestly.
Yeah.
But, everybody can be upset about that. We didn't draft nobody else except for Ariante. But hearing that you got 15 guys in that O-line room, they're going to fight for their spots. They're going to earn their keep. And D'Amico Ryans, Nick Haley, our OC, our offensive line coach, everybody's going to be focused on who they want to keep, who they know has the talent to keep CJ up. So heading into the season, it's going to be real interesting with us and our offensive line room.
Yeah, a lot of offensive linemen to choose from. Definitely for your coaches, it's going to be a really hard decision. You got Ursary from Minnesota and a really good tackle, right? I mean, I don't know. You've probably done some research on that tackle as well. As I didn't research into the linemen as often, But I know that's a pretty solid pick for you guys. Tackle's a much needed position, especially for CJ Stroud.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna definitely need those tackles to block there.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I was gonna be like, just like a good topic to go off of with the draft.
Mm.
Do you have like an underrated pick that you really liked throughout your draft class?
I will say an underrated pick that I think will have a lot of effect.
Mm.
In my opinion, I honestly think will be Justin Wally,
Mm.
the corner. I think, our cornerback room, and I'm gonna say this, our cornerback room is really underrated. Like I think,
Mm.
yeah, we got Ward that came in, right? The all pro,
Yeah.
right, from the 49ers. But as well, we have Juju Brents, he has gotten so unlucky. I don't know if you know who Juju Brents is, but
No, I do. Yeah.
yeah, he has gotten so unlucky with injuries. I think just if he was just playing for a whole season on the field,
Mhm.
I could see his stats being pretty solid. And I
Yeah.
honestly think he's a pretty good corner. Like he knows how to make plays. He knows how to get turnovers.
Mhm.
He's just pretty solid in protection as well. He's really physical. And you've seen him like just being able to have those physical traits. But
Mhm.
another physical corner, Justin Wally, I think is an underrated corner. I think he's coming with that aggressive play style. Just coming with something in that I think will make more competition in this cornerback room. Like not everybody has their position, right? Maybe
Yeah.
except like Ward, but like everybody else has to fight for their positions, right? Like
Mhm.
obviously Kenny Moore at slot, but like Justin Wiley, I think is a really solid corner, and I think is gonna create competition. He's a really good athlete. I think he just has the playing capabilities that Chris Ballard, our GM, looks for,
Mhm.
and like what a corner should be. A lot of the time you'll notice that Chris Ballard always tends to go for those guys that are like have long arms a lot of the time,
Yeah.
which is like tends to be the narrative that Colts corners always have long arms. But I definitely think that nickel is probably where they're going to put him at, like rotating with Kenny. I think
Mhm.
that's a good place. But Justin Wally, I think he's probably the most underrated one on our
Okay.
draft. Could be more. I think honestly, other people have different opinions on
Mm.
like who can be, but I think that's Justin Wally. I think is probably going to be showing up a lot. I think more than people think.
Yeah. And honestly, with us, it's funny that you went corner because I was going to go corner too,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah.
our DB that we drafted, Jalen Smith. He's coming out of USC. He was actually
Oh,
he
USC.
was actually our
Yeah.
safety's teammate, Kalen Bullock. They were teammates with each other not even a year ago. And funny enough, they were at each other's draft parties. He was at Kalen's last year, and Kalen was at his this year. So
That is pretty sick.
that's insane. That
Yeah.
they're at each other's draft parties. Texans and Texans again, but. He's going to come in. He's going to play as well nickel. He's going to play nickel. He's got good speed on him.
Mhm.
He's got honestly that type of dog and swarm mentality that we need. He's good. He's a great tackler. And people were upset that we drafted about two DBs in this draft. But with our depth chart, with our depth at cornerback, we need more corners because say Stingley goes down or Kamari goes down, we have that immediate backup because it was a struggle last year. Say because Kamari did miss a game. It was a struggle last year when we had to bring in, say, like the fourth string backup, and that was a pretty struggle having to watch that going up against the number 2 receiver on the other team. But adding depth to
Yeah.
that corner room, especially somebody like Jalen Smith who can play corner and corner nickel and the outside, he'll be a good underrated pick from us. Just overall dog mentality, and that's what we need for this secondary. And this secondary is going to be
Yeah.
the secondary to watch this season.
Oh yeah, no, and I can say that the Texans have probably the best secondary in our division. I
Mhm.
don't think like Jaguars. I know Jaguars have great, linebackers. I just
Yeah.
think like the secondary, the Texans have the best one, and
Mhm.
it's so obvious. I think the Colts are kind of getting there,
Mhm.
but still development. I think for some of those young corners, I think they are still pretty solid. Like again, I think our cornerback room will definitely be better than last year.
Yeah.
Opening up against you guys, you saw our corners were not good against those receivers. Yeah, like it was just hard. I think it was very hard for our defense to like
Mhm.
stop you guys, just for a variety of reasons. But I think now with the players we picked up, with the adjustments, right? You got Cameron
Mhm.
Bynum, you have Ward that came in, right? The corners are developing, safeties are, linebackers. You don't have EJ Speed
Yeah.
anymore, who frankly, EJ Speed was someone that was not really doing good on the defense. Now you
Mhm.
have other linebackers that are coming up like Segunalubi,
Yeah.
Carlise, who coming off an injury, who has a lot of potential, right? So, and you still have Zaire, the All Pro. So, like
Mhm.
again, I feel pretty good about our defense compared to last year. I will say that.
Yeah, and funny enough, how you talk about EJ Speed, and now I'm over here having to watch EJ Speed workout videos. He's on our team.
Yeah, now he's over there. I mean, we'll see if he gets through though. Again, that linebacker room in Houston is tough, to get through.
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna be definitely with our defense. It's even though we know who we have, it's still gonna be like, hey, they're still gonna fight over their positions on who wants to start over who. But with the draft as well, was there a certain position that you think that they didn't address too much?
From what I was seeing, obviously in the draft, if there was positions that I think they could have addressed just a little more, it honestly wasn't really any position except maybe wide receiver, right? Obviously, wide receiver was not addressed at all, and for good reason, right? We have Adonai Mitchell, who didn't have his best rookie year, and I'm going to argue this. Adonai Mitchell, on paper, looked bad this year, his rookie year, but a lot of, the time, it was also the connection between him and Richardson. They just weren't on the same page a lot of the time. And also, Adonai Mitchell himself, right, wasn't in where he needed to be on his routes. Just a lot of, rookie mistakes. That's common for wide receivers. But I think this offseason, as he learns and regrows, I honestly think this year is his come up. I think this is the year where we'll see Adonai Mitchell kind of start to get into that ceiling. Hopefully, right, potentially we could start to see that because he does have a high ceiling. I've seen him make some fantastic catches, and he can get those touchdown catches. Josh Downs has evolved into someone that can get – I mean, for Frank, you saw Josh Downs' amazing catch against Houston for the touchdown. That was crazy. That looked like Josh Downs and Tank Dell are kind of similar in that sense, where they can just make crazy plays. So I think – for that sense, we'll kind of start to see. But I can see why they didn't pick a wide receiver. But that was probably the position that I'm like, okay, we didn't address it. You know?
And honestly, with the Colts room and all that, with the wide receiver room, for me, I could say the same thing. Like, I don't really blame it on the wide receivers too much. It's based on the mental stability of the quarterback, of how the quarterback's playing, and from the drama that came out of the Colts quarterback room, last year with Anthony Richardson. Of course, it's going to be it's going to affect the weapons because they're not getting enough on what they can really do because their quarterback isn't playing at their level, so to speak. Or somebody like Daniel Jones being there too. Like I say, it'll be a fight in your quarterback room, but I feel with that fight, with that feeling with Anthony Richardson feeling like everybody's against me, I feel like it'll be more of this season of proving everybody wrong in a way. But say Daniel Jones has to step up, it'll be still Daniel Jones proving a lot of people wrong because, he was on the Giants. Giants could have been a reason why he was terrible, which is a good reason. But overall, to me, it'll be an uplifting season for the Colts. Like I say, with the season coming up, I still just see it as number one and number two Texans and Colts. The other two, I because if we want to talk about rivals, like the Jaguars, I was like, man, you're kind of stupid for trading up.
Yeah, the Jaguars, I don't know. I mean, they do have pretty good wide receivers there. And, for me, though, I really just think the Jaguars are more rebuild. Trevor Lawrence, I think Jaguars fans even think he's not the quarterback. He's had way too many chances, and he hasn't shown that he can be the future. And especially the injuries. He's just gotten so unlucky with the injuries. And then when you look at the Titans, I actually think that is the underdog team to win the division. I think a lot of media, ESPN's not going to look at them too much, or talk about the Titans, but I will. And I will just say that the Titans are a team that, you saw it against Houston last year. No one expected the Titans to beat Houston in Houston, right? The Titans are still there as a threat. They definitely are a team that they're that team that you want to say is bad, but they're not. They're a team that's sneaky good. They're definitely in the trenches. They still have big Jeffrey Simmons right there stopping the run game. So, again, they got some ballers there in Tennessee. And I think Tennessee Titans just don't get enough respect for that. But the only position is questionable is always quarterback for Tennessee. And they got Cam Ward. So, again, how that pans out, depending on how Cam Ward shows up, is going to really depend on is going to actually – drastically decide how their year goes, right? So that's definitely going to be good.
Yeah, and honestly, what I was saying about the Titans is the one move that I honestly didn't pay attention to that they made was because during the draft they say who this team lost and who they added on. I didn't even know they lost. They honestly didn't pay their wide receiver Akine, who was a good wide receiver. He tore us up. but they let him go walk, and they signed Tyler Lockett, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's gonna.
Ooh,
So I mean, I'm like, I would rather keep
yeah.
Akine because he's got the younger age. Tyler Lockett's been in the league for over 10 years, I
Mhm.
think, and so it'll help Cam Ward with a veteran wide
Yeah,
receiver.
like Tyler Lockett. I
Yeah,
think that's a good signing.
yeah, definitely. But with the Titans, it's still what they have planned. What it's same with the Jaguars. What each team
Yeah.
has planned. If they can support their quarterback, even though Cam Ward's a rookie, even though Trevor Lawrence has been in the league for like a couple years now, but at this point, I'm calling him a bust. So, but overall, like with what the
Yeah.
Jaguars did, what the Titans did, to me, I think honestly, Jaguars will be last in the division. I'm not gonna lie because like Travis Hunter is
Yeah.
good, but I feel like they're gonna put too much pressure, too much workload on somebody like Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see. They got a new coach, right? With a new
Mhm.
coach, I just think that the first year new coach comes in, it's not really gonna go well.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it might start out maybe they get like 8-9 or 9-8, right? Maybe
Mhm.
even 10-7, but it's just gonna be really hard. And
Yeah.
then you got Trevor Lawrence there, right? I really am interested to see how their season goes, but I think for now I have Colts Texans fighting for the division.
Mhm.
And then you have the Titans as that underdog, sneaky team that still could win the division, right? They're more sneaky.
Yeah.
No one's kind of expecting them to blow up, but I would not be surprised if they started up coming up.
Mhm.
But I know Titans fans have been starting to complain about Brian Callahan as a coach.
Yeah.
But again, it is just his first year. I think
Yeah.
going into his second year, we'll definitely see. It's kind of like Colts fans when they were complaining a little bit about Shane Steichen in his first
Mhm.
year. Like he had a pretty solid year. That's what I'm saying. Going into
No,
this year,
yeah.
that like he hasn't been bad. I just think like 9-8. I think this year was like what, like 7-10, 8-9. So
Mhm.
again, it hasn't been horrible. It's still been pretty solid years.
Yeah.
So again, right now we're just going to go ahead and see.
Mhm.
And I think with Shane Steichen being like the solid coach that he is, we'll definitely see how it goes. But for you, I would say, what is the most what do you say? What is the most hated pick for the Houston Texans right now? You think
You said
fans are kind of
the most
hating on?
hated?
Yeah, that they didn't
Mm.
like.
Oh man, that's actually tough because honestly, like a lot of times, a lot of people really like were liking everything. I think
Mhm.
I'm kind of tied between my main two guys right here. It's say hated.
Yeah.
On Yeah, it'd be the
Mhm.
sixth round pick quarterback from Florida, Graham Mertz. A lot of people kind of hated
Mm.
that pick because they were like, well, what do we do? We got Davis Mills behind CJ.
Yeah.
In a way, I don't hate it. It's more of like
Yeah.
Davis Mills could leave after this year, instead of us paying him a contract because yeah,
Mhm.
he's a good backup, but he's not going to be let's start him immediately. Somebody like Graham Mertz
Yeah.
can like sit behind Davis this year and learn from him and then be a backup to CJ after Davis leaves. But overall, it was more of like people hated it because we could have gotten like say a D tackle in the
Yeah.
sixth round or another wide receiver, another tackle, guard, anything else other than the quarterback that we don't need because everybody's focused on what does this mean? Does it mean that they have a backup plan for CJ? No, it's just backup help for in case somebody like CJ or if Davis Mills goes down. But it's a good to me. I don't hate it. It's more of like it's just
Yeah.
hated around the team.
I could see it. I mean, with the Colts, it's similar. A
Mm.
quarterback, Riley Leonard from Notre
Oh,
Dame, in the sixth round. A lot of Colts fans weren't a fan of it because that quarterback room now. Obviously, you got Daniel Jones, Richardson, and now Riley
mm,
Leonard, the third stringer. Even though obviously we know that Riley Leonard won't be in that competition, like it'll
mm,
probably be likely that Riley Leonard is third stringer. But Leonard is in Indianapolis or in Indiana, so he's going to stay in the state of Indiana, which is pretty cool. And he has an amazing
mm.
personality. So I
Okay.
think Shane Steichen and that and the general Chris Ballard and that draft room, I think what they were thinking in their heads is really about this kid Riley Leonard is more
Mhm.
though his nice personality and what he brings to the locker room. That
Yeah.
positive mentality, that like let's keep going, right? Let's build for success, right? I think that vision and that and how communicative and loud he is and how like expressive Riley Leonard is will help
Mhm.
that locker room. Even though he might be a third stringer or maybe a backup for like the first year or two, I think that that's really why they drafted him is more for
Mm.
that motivation and that like what he brings to the locker room environment. And I think
Mm.
that's really important. If you have a great
Yeah.
locker room environment, you are going to be really good in this league. I mean, we've seen it with many teams before. It's
Mm.
just really comes down to the mentality of the team.
Yeah. And honestly, like we us as two teams, and our fans, they want to be a little upset over the quarterback position, quarterback room. I'm just glad I'm not a Cleveland Brown fan. I'm like, man, with that quarterback room, that's a headache.
Isn't that like 4 or 5 quarterbacks they have?
Yeah, like Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, Shador. I'm like, oh man, that's just a mess. So I'm like, I'd rather my quarterback room be, we're mad over a backup rather than have 5 guys fighting for one position.
It's like 4 to 5, and it's just not the best. But obviously, we'll see who wins. I think Shadir will do. Shadir definitely. I don't know why he fell that much, but there's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
I think there's always a reason for everything. But we shall see. I think Shadir, again, we will see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Right? He might start showing up and prove all these teams wrong, or he might just be a bust and prove all these teams right. We shall see what ends up happening with Shadir Sanders. Definitely going to see. But, these picks, again, kind of like, I think going over all of them, I think they were pretty solid for both Colts and Houston. And one thing I did want to point out, as we're starting to go more into the conclusion of the pod here, I do want to state that Shane Steichen, there was a video YouTube short that was released by the Colts of Shane Steichen talking to the team. I think the team is meeting up in the facilities already. I think it kind of depends on the team, right? Where when they meet up. Yeah, like I think Colts are already doing it pretty early, which I like. That's actually really good. Like Shane Steichen was talking to them, and in the video, Shane Steichen was. You can just tell his personality, to put it this way, was a lot more like accountable. Right now, he's kind of going back to how he just came in the first year. Right, a lot more accountability, a lot more sturdiness, strictness. Right, and especially with the addition of defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Lou Anarumo wants to see certain guys on his defense, right? Yeah. He wants to see certain guys. He's really picky about what he wants to see in his defense. And I think Chris Ballard probably asked him again, like what kind of guys he wanted, right, on his defense. What did he want to add through the draft? You got Justin Wiley. You got JT Tumaloa from Ohio State, the defensive end. Right, you got the defensive tackle Tim Smith from Alabama, very physical defensive players, and Hunter Waller, linebacker from Wisconsin, your last pick. So again, you're trying to get guys that are physical, that have great mentalities, and that's probably some of those are influenced by Lou. But through Shane Steichen and that video, it kind of showed, right, like the mentality and the structure of the team has to change, right? The second year, it was kind of lost, right? Fans were complaining that Shane Steichen wasn't as accountable with his players. Was like putting players on the field that weren't supposed to be there. And now in this offseason, in May, you can tell that through what he's telling the players, the mentality's got to change. And I love that Steichen is kind of changing that locker room environment into more like accountability and successful. And just because you have like a starting position now doesn't mean you'll have it later in the season, right? You got to still earn it. So I kind of like that mentality that this team is having.
Honestly, yeah, that's the same for us too, because I've seen that a lot of guys are already working out together. We had a CJ Gardner-Johnson already working out with our secondary. Like it was a week after he signed with us, and everybody's just having a sort of it's not even mandatory. They're just coming in to work out together, grow the relationship more together, and with and honestly with how our media is, we're pretty one of the quietest teams. You don't hear a lot from us. You don't like us. We honestly, as fans, we honestly don't even keep up with CJ now because CJ's like so out of the media. He's so quiet. So we're like, dude, where's CJ? It's like we're finding Waldo. Where's CJ at now? But overall, it's good for us too as well. We got our new OC Nick Caley coming in. Of course, like all the eyes are going to be on him coming into the season, seeing if he can take us to the promised land, being a first-year OC. But with somebody like D'Amico Ryans and our GM Nick Caserio, they've got that mentality of we're going to work for what we got this upcoming season. We want to go where we want to go this season. So this offseason, it's definitely going to be one to watch as well.
No, most definitely. And I think that, going into it, of course, it's going to be quite different going into the season, but kind of like you were saying, again, there's different examples of like how both the Texans and the Colts are approaching this season and how they should be approaching this season, right? The Texans know that the Colts are competitive and they're right there with them, right? So like the Texans have been winning the division, but the Colts are just right there. Like they're also breathing behind their backs. So like, again, I think the Colts and Texans this year is going to be really interesting how, those two matches play out. But I'm just hoping that Richardson just shows up, right? Like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
offseason and wins that starting position as he rightfully should, right?
Mhm.
I just think that the training that he's going to go through with Josh Allen and Chris Hess will drastically improve his accuracy.
Mhm.
Hopefully, right? We can hope so. And if it does, then, right, this team could be really good. I think this
Yeah.
offense specifically could be really good. But we just got to see it. And then on the Texan side, right, there's obviously other things you guys want to fix and you guys want to
Mhm.
improve, like the offensive line, right? Making
Yeah.
sure that pressure is off CJ Stroud's backs or his back a lot of the
Mhm.
time. But yeah, what are some of your like finishing thoughts as we kind of finish this episode about the draft?
Other than that, it's honestly just since the draft is over, it's honestly waiting for these next few weeks, waiting for the summer to start up for both of our teams, waiting for
Yeah.
to see when the training camp dates start because I know definitely I am gonna want to try to go to training camp. But I
Mhm.
know the schedules are coming out this month on the 14th, I believe. But so that's definitely something to watch, and I know we'll definitely like make a video over the schedules and all that. So that's definitely gonna be fun. I'm glad that the offseason is somewhat halfway over, but we're getting there. It feels like the draft came so quick, and it's going to be the same for the schedules being released, and it's going to be the same for the training camp coming up. So it's all going to come fast. But other than that, it's definitely topics we're ready to talk about once these next few weeks come by. But on that, I mean, pretty much all I got for this entire draft video. But it's definitely fun to go over what we went over.
Yeah, no, most definitely. It's been fun, to just go over kind of like what's been going on with everything. More likely, like what's been going on with the draft. And the draft was, again, a really solid draft for both teams. I think both organizations did a great job of drafting players and players that they much rather just needed.
Yeah.
Um, so, really excellent job on both sides. But finishing thoughts more though is like hopefully, hopefully the Colts just get to really use these practices to their advantage and
Mhm.
also like I was referencing earlier, Shane Steichen implementing that new mentality into the locker room I think is just going to help a lot more in what the Colts are trying to do this year.
Yeah.
And the Houston Texans are implementing the same things as
Yeah.
well. But um that will kind of conclude our episode, ladies and gentlemen, of the Rivals podcast, talking about the draft, recapping what the picks look like. It was me, DJ Be Cool. That was Aaron or Head of the Table. Please follow us on our socials or keep up with us on Twitter or like and subscribe and leave a comment again of what topics you'd like to see or what things you'd like to see on the episodes. And that was us, and have a good rest of your week.